Hello, so it is time for Cooking with Coach K, and I am super excited to show you guys a breakfast option that you may not have considered, and I'm going to show you something that I don't even think most people have heard of. So what I'm going to start with first is a porridge, and then we are going to make a sausage style patty. All right, for the porridge, we'll start that first. I think I'm going to use this burner over here. And it's going to showcase a new grain that you may not have heard of before. This grain is called Fonio, F-O-N-I-O, and this is an ancient African grain, actually. A cup of Fonio, 12 grams of protein. So it is loaded with nutrition and a wonderful, wonderful grain to use. It can be hard to find. You can find Fonio in African stores. If you Google African stores in your city, you can also find it on Amazon. There is a brand, I can't recall the name of it right now, that's only $10 for a pound, which may still sound high to some people, but let me tell you, a little goes a long way. This will last you quite a while. So it's 1 part Fonio to 3 parts liquid. I'm going to do a combination of water and plant milk. I love to add a little bit of plant milk because it helps with the creamy factor. So there's a 1/3 cup of water, and then I'm going to do 2/3 cup of this new milk I'm obsessed with. Most of you know that I typically make my own milk. However, I thought I would give this a try, and I really love it. This is pea milk, and I always get the unsweetened. They do have a sweetened kind. I would suggest you get unsweetened. It contains pea protein and sunflower oil. That's really pretty much it. So I really enjoy it. It's got a nice creamy factor to it. So I'm going to do 2/3 cups of that. And we'll get that started. Bring that to a boil, and then I'm going to do a 1/3 cup of the Fonio. Now what I love about it, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but what I love about this grain is you can keep adding more and more and more liquid to it, and it just keeps absorbing it. So if it looks like it's a little bit stuck together, that's really no big deal, because you can just add more liquid to it. And I'm going to put a pinch of salt in there. That helps things to get boiling faster. All right, then what I have over here is the ingredients for my sausage patty. On the bottom, there's about a cup of walnuts. Then there's an onion, and then there's about a cup of mushrooms, some fresh herbs that I had on hand, and about 2 tablespoons of sea moss gel. This recipe is in the Rebirth Guide, but it's listed as a homemade veggie meat. We're going to make it into a patty today. So same basic ingredients, but it's going to go into a patty today. And I am going to break this down in the food processor and then show you guys texture from there, and we'll add our seasonings onto that. And that right there is almost coming to a boil. Let me get this going. I want you guys to notice the texture that I get on this. It should not be mush. Okay? All right, so what I suggest you do on your food processor, and I'm sorry you guys, you can't see this, but I'll show you in a second. What you should do on your food processor is use the pulse feature and not the puree, because it'll be all the way mushed out before you even know it, and then your patty's mushier. Just pulse, 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 pulse. Take your spoon in and go and bring up what's on the bottom. Bring it further up. One more pulse and we should be there. Awesome. Oh, I found one big mushroom. It's not as it should be. Okay. So we're looking good on this. Here is what your texture should look like. Okay. Now, what you don't want to do, well, I'm sorry, what I was going to say is there's two things you could actually do at this point. I could take this and just fry it and break it up as it's frying and make it into a crumble, right? And I'm going to do that with a portion of this, and then the other portion of it I'm going to make into patties. Let's go ahead and get our fonio in here since this is boiling. We're adding 1/3 cup. All right, turn that down some. This grain could even go in here. I could take this grain and put it into this patty mixture. You could add some leftover quinoa into this patty mixture. All goes together. All right, so I'm going to let that simmer. Okay, now back over here to our patties. So we've got this at a good consistency, good texture right now. It's time for us to spice it up. And I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Again, there's no salt in here, so it's very bland. Another thing I could have added in here is a green bell pepper, okay? Something else you could add in. I'm going to add a little sage. Look at this sage. This is dried sage right here. So what I like about the dried sage, whole like this, the flavor is so much more intense. When it's ground, man, it doesn't take much at all, and you have completely over seasoned your dish. So I'm just going to crumble up the sage in here. The reason why I like to use sage, guys, is because, especially sage and fennel together, I'm out of fennel right now, but you could add some fennel. The reason why I like to use it is because that's what's in sausage, sage and fennel. So here I also have oregano. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of oregano. Okay, oregano is just a well-balanced spice. There's lots of ways to get flavor in besides just using salt. Then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of basil, dried basil. I'm going to have to stir my fonio here. And then I'm putting about 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. Thyme is, I love it, adds great balance, but it can overpower, so you have to be careful with that. All right, let's give this a stir. So it's already looking like cream of wheat, basically. All grains pretty much can be made into a porridge. You could do something similar with the amaranth grain. There's lots of gluten-free grains. It doesn't just have to be cream of wheat, okay, you guys? The key with this one, though, I find it needs some cream in there from coconut milk or a plant milk to really give it that creamy factor. Otherwise, the grain still separates a lot, and it's not as creamy as a cream of wheat would be. So you do have to add more to it. I would say that fonio is like quinoa and couscous got together and had a baby, and that's how it came out. That's what it reminds me of. All right, so next we're going to add onion powder and ginger powder in here. I like to go hard with the onion powder. Even though there's already an onion in there, the powder just tastes different. So I'm going to put about 1 teaspoon of my onion powder in here. Okay. It's about time for me to get this. Let me start heating up this skillet. I'm going to move it to the center once it's going, but let's go ahead and get that going hot now. Then I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of ginger powder. Okay. And let's give this another stir. See how this is doing. It's getting there. Again, it can keep cooking. It will just keep on absorbing. You can keep adding liquid. This even freezes well, you guys. I've made it, and then I've put it in the freezer and taken it out and warmed it up with more coconut milk, and it was delicious. So we've got this going here. I'm going to add a surprise ingredient just for kicks and giggles. Honestly, this is not a part of the recipe. I just want to see what it tastes like, if I can get it open. Handy little trick for opening jars here. Okay. I'm just going to add in some sun-dried tomatoes, y'all, because why not? Sun-dried tomatoes have great flavor. They're great in the raw walnut meat, so why not try them in here? Okay, how's that? Yeah. This actually has sun-dried tomatoes and red pepper. So I'm expecting this to bring a lot of flavor to the party. There we go. All right, so let's give this a stir. Okay, and get this all mixed. And what we're going to do is we're going to fry one small patty and see how that tastes before we go ahead and do the whole batch. Highly recommend that, y'all, because you don't know if your seasoning, might not be to your taste. You go ahead and just do one patty first. Then you can say, okay, this is good, or, oh, this needs some more something. Usually when it needs more something, if you do a little more salt and a little more onion powder, you'll be there. Could do a little ginger powder. If you use garlic, you could add a little garlic powder. All right, so look at that. That's coming together nicely. Okay, I think this is undersalted, but I'm going to do my test patty just to make sure. How's this going? Let's give this a stir right here. Look at that. So at this point, you guys, this is really done. Okay, it's really done. I'm going to add a little bit more milk just to thin it out. A little bit more. This is what I used to do to my cream of wheat anyway, y'all. I would always add a little bit more milk. So see, just a little bit more milk in there. Just kind of thins it out. And I'm going to leave it, turn it off and leave it at that texture. And I will add a little bit of earth balance in here. About this much. Let that sit in there and get happy. And now let's add our, this is a shortening called, actually called palm shortening. It has no trans fat in it. Just giving it a try. They had it at my local market. So I decided to try it. And so far I like it. I'm completely out of my grapeseed oil. So this works well for today. For the purposes of this experimentation we've got going on here. All right, so I like to use a small measuring cup to make my patties nice and round. But for the test patty, I'm just going to use a spoon. Now let's go ahead and move this over to the center here. But I wanted to go ahead and get that skillet. It can take cast iron a minute to heat up. So you do want to go ahead and get your skillet going. Okay, let's get a spatula. So we have that all ready to go. Yep, okay. Let's put our test patty in. Let's see how it does. Okay. There we go. And this is a little big. I usually do my little test patty much smaller than that. But we'll just do this one. If this is good, we're good to go. Oh my goodness, you guys. We forgot an ingredient. Well, Coach K forgot an ingredient. I'm going to let that cook up. Might not be needed, but I'm going to add it anyway. Garbanzo bean flour. So this helps to bind. You saw the sea moss gel that was in there. Adding a bit of garbanzo bean flour in with this also just helps it to hold together better. Although that patty looks like it's doing good, but sometimes when you flip them, they go crazy. So I'm adding in about 2 tablespoons of garbanzo bean flour. Now, you wouldn't need the garbanzo bean flour if you were doing the scramble. I mean, if you were doing the ground meat, you wouldn't need that. And so what I'm going to do is take a portion of this out and set it to the side with no garbanzo bean flour in it so that I can make it into my ground meat later. All right, so that's for my patties, because my patties need to hold together a little bit better. And this one over here, this mixture is just going to be ground. There. Okay, for this one though, let's get it in there, get it stirred. All right, so the key to getting these things to hold together well, don't flip them too soon. All right, yeah, see, it looks good, but it's not, the texture is completely crumbly without the flour in there. So that's okay, because right now I'm just tasting for texture. I'm sorry, for flavor. What am I saying? All right, so this looks pretty good. I'm actually going to err on the side of caution and add a tad bit more of my garbanzo bean flour, which I probably don't need, but nothing would be, if you added too much, it just would be more stiff. You could also add chickpeas mashed up. It's not going to give you the same hold though as the flour will. Okay, let's just tilt this a little bit here. Yeah. Okay. All right, so here we go. There. Now that's all the mixing I'm gonna, and it should get a little stiff. The issue is it was too wet and there was no type of binder whatsoever. In lieu of the sea moss gel I had in here, you can also use the liquid from a can of chickpeas, and that would work just as well. Okay. Let's see how that is. It's totally breaking up, but you can see how it could be nicely ground, right? So that's kind of what we've turned this one into here. And I could even have made this savory. It's not. It's going to be a sweeter version. And I could put this on top as like sausage crumbles. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it would be delicious. All right, let's give this a taste. See what we're working with here, flavor-wise. I'm so paranoid all the time that I'm going to burn my mouth. Is it still wet? Okay. Yep. That's really good. Now I need a little bit more salt. But most of you probably won't. Man, that's really tasty. I think I'm onto something with that sun-dried tomatoes in there, y'all. All right, let's move this out. Okay. Look at those. Doesn't that look yummy? So let's go ahead and form our patties now. You can also take these patties and bread them. You could even do a little, like dip them on each side into a kamut flour, or even quinoa flour is really good for adding like a crunchy exterior. Okay, let's get our skillet tilted. I don't know why. It seems like maybe, am I the only one whose stove is never seems level? Let me tilt that, and then boom. Look at that. All right. And let's do another one. I'm going to put probably 3 or 4 in here. You would get more out of it, but I'm getting less out of it because I set some aside to do the brown crumble with. Okay. All right. Boom. And let's do one more. So you can put these on a sandwich too, y'all. And this freezes very well. One and done. You know, once you try it and you know you like it, next time, make a double batch, okay? This is easily made. This is 100% homemade. Now you want to flatten these out a little bit, y'all, so that it helps them to cook in the center. And the other thing is, if it's still not, done enough for you, you can always bake them in the oven a bit to finish them off and get more firmness in the center. But the flour helps with that as well. Okay, we'll just flatten that out some. I tell you what, this was one of my greatest accomplishments, you guys. The first time I made these patties and they were good, I was just like, Jesus loves me for real. Because everything was failing. Everything I did was failing. Folks don't believe me, but I have pictures to prove it. I would take pictures and, you know, my food, it didn't even look good. It was obvious I was forcing myself. So it's a process. It takes time. You know, we hear the phrase Rome wasn't built in a day, but we don't really believe it. All right? Or we don't want to put in the time that it takes to, you know, to really wait and be patient and learn. You have to unlearn behavior as well. So, again, when these are on this side, don't rush it. Just keep flattening it out. Let it sit there for a little while. All right? And then it will get nice and crispy. If your oven, your heat shouldn't be up too high either. Mine is on like a medium low-ish. Try this way to get that oil to go down there. You can use a little less oil. I probably have a little too much in here. Let me taste my. It's crunchy, but not from the nuts. It's crunchy like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. You know, like something that's fried, crispy. Crispy is the better way to say it, not crunchy. All right, so while that's coming together, I want you guys to notice that already that Fonio absorbed all that milk. So let's finish this off. A little more milk. Because I didn't get a chance to put my other goodies in there. A little more milk. A little bit of vanilla. Okay, about a half teaspoon. Dash of cinnamon. You can put in here whatever you want. Give that a stir. All right, let's give this a flip. I don't remember which one I put in here first. I think it was this one. Uh-oh. This is always the moment. This is always the moment of truth, you guys. Is this going to flip? So notice I'm getting my spatula like all the way under there. Oh yeah. All right, let's do this next one. Oh yes. See, I let it cook low and slow. Yes. I'm telling you, people will want to try this. When they see this, they'll want to try it. They may not like it. Everybody's not going to like everything, but it looks appetizing. Okay? All right. I'm excited about that, y'all. So let me go ahead and put my Fonio in the bowl. Looks just like creamy wheat, doesn't it? But this is so much better for you. This grain is gluten-free. This grain will not bloat you. Your gut will love it. And I'm going to add a drizzle of agave. Okay. You could choose to keep it savory. Okay. You don't have to do what I'm doing. Whoops. And then I'm going to put some banana on top of this one. Bananas and blueberries. I'm not a huge blueberry fan, to be honest with you, but blueberries are high in antioxidants. They're so good for you that I do kind of force myself to eat them. Let's see if we can make it pretty, y'all. Make your food pretty. I promise you, you'll feel so much better about it if you make it pretty. Oops. There. Sometimes I spend so much time plating my food that it's not even hot anymore by the time I get ready to eat. Yes, it is true. I'm rotating this skillet around as well to help it get it better cooked. See, that's coming out nicely. I should have made a small one to look better on top of this, off to the side. And more banana, just keep spreading the love around. And then I think I'll put my blueberries in the middle. All right. Okay, and let me see, I got my cinnamon in there. So yeah, there's a number of different other little spices that you could put in here. You could do a little allspice. You could do some cloves. Cloves are great for you. Help naturally fight parasites. And then let's just put our blueberries in the center. Doesn't that look good, y'all? You deserve it. I mean, really, you really do. You work hard, you do so much for everybody else. You can do a little something for yourself, just a little something. Look at that, look at that. As they would say, we're cooking with grease now, y'all. All right, so this is done. This is good for me. You'll need to taste one, check your texture on the inside and see whether or not you want it to be a little bit more firm on the inside. And if that's the case, then you would definitely want to bake this in the oven at 350 would be good for maybe 15-20 minutes or so. It's really hard to mess it up, okay? So what I'm going to do here is get my plate ready by first eating the rest of this. Yep, it's got such a nice crispy texture to it. I know the ground is going to be really good. I'm going to put this on. And then add my patty next to it. Which one? Which one? I'll take this one right here. There we go. And that's it. So for breakfast, you could add some spelt toast. I have some spelt toast here that I'm going to add. You have Fonio, your new favorite hot cereal with bananas and blueberries, and then you have a mushroom patty on the right side. Mushroom walnut sausage patty. This is your breakfast. Enjoy. Make sure you let me know what you think of this this dish if you try it and if you enjoyed this video. All right, thank you. Bye.